Hollywood once created blockbuster films about the end of the world. The very city that made those films is living in the most brutal version of itself, beneath neon lights and endless rows of tents. Los Angeles, the city dubbed the capital of cinema, is no longer the paradise that millions once dreamed of. The glittering luxury that once lit up every street is slowly being replaced by faded tarps along, casting a long shadow over a city that once stood as a symbol of hope and prosperity. The darkness gradually devours the desperate streets where the homeless are abandoned by the entire system, barely surviving each day as if fighting in battle for survival. In today's video, we will take you into the nightmare unfolding in the heart of Los Angeles, where the American dream is not only shattered, but rotting day by day in discarded tents and the broken hopes of souls gradually being forgotten. Los Angeles, a city once likened to the paradise of the California dream, where dazzling neon lights welcome millions of tourists and residents with promises of opportunity, freedom, and success. But by 2025, those lights were no longer bright enough to cover the darkness enveloping this city. Amidst the legendary streets like Hollywood Boulevard, where people still flock in search of a glimmer of fame, there are homeless encampments occupying the sidewalks, makeshift sunshades, and old, worn-out cars, where those who once had stable lives now struggle with hunger, cold, and societal indifference. According to data from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, LASA, in the 2024 homeless count, there were 75,518 people in Los Angeles County and 46,260 people in the city of Los Angeles. These numbers indicate a significant increase compared to previous years, and a continuing trend of rising homelessness in this area. Compared to 2022, the number of homeless people increased by 9% in Los Angeles County and by 10% in the city of Los Angeles. This indicates a harsh reality: the American dream is becoming increasingly distant for a large portion of the city's residents. But it is worth noting that this number does not fully reflect the reality, because besides the clearly visible homeless people in the tent camps, there are thousands of people living in cars, in makeshift houses in outlying areas, who are not officially counted. Los Angeles is not only a place of dazzling lights, but now, this city has also become a symbol of helplessness, the divide between a wealthy society and the poor residents left behind. So, why does a city considered a symbol of opportunity allow thousands of its residents to suffer invisibly? While luxury casinos and restaurants continue to attract customers every minute, the answer lies in a system that lacks sufficient care and planning to protect the vulnerable. Los Angeles, once dubbed the city of opportunity and freedom, now faces the consequences of an economy built on inequality, where the system can invest in urban development and tourism, but cannot afford to provide a home for those who helped build this city. If a city that was once a symbol of the American dream, where the whole world looked to for opportunity, cannot protect its own poor citizens, then what have we lost in this society? And does the dream we have believed in all our lives still exist, when those who need it most are left behind, in this very city? Los Angeles, the city of neon lights and the American dream, where every street is filled with hope and opportunity, also harbors truth behind the darkness that few dare to confront. Right beneath the bright billboards, in the famous Figueroa district, where people flock to seek fun and freedom, there is an underground world that is destroying lives, especially those of innocent minors. Strolling along those streets at night, you will easily catch glimpses of shadows lurking behind the streetlights, like scattered playing cards on a sidewalk betting table. And of course, no one truly controls the rules of the game. Everything operates silently, yet with full calculation, like the ingredients in an invisible machine, continuously turning, crushing dreams that have yet to take shape. The pain gradually etched itself on every face, on the weary steps of those whom life had pushed into the shadows. In a recent campaign, Over 500 arrests were made across the state of California. 177 people were rescued, including children, from situations where they were drawn into a dark spiral from which they could not escape. Some of them were only 11 years old, lured by shelters where they were supposed to be protected. The bright neon lights, instead of bringing freedom and opportunity, become a sweet trap, leading lives into nightmarish situations with no way out. Figueroa Corridor, approximately 3.5 miles long, is the hottest area of the city when it comes to activities where people become the raw material for a certain nightlife industry. Those drawn into this world are not only societal outcasts, but also girls and boys, submerged in an uneven game from which they cannot escape. Some of them, once children nurtured within the foster care system, have now become victims in the hands of those who profit from the dreams of the poor.
What can I do? What can I do?
The images of those villains are not always clear. Some have used identifying marks, tattoos on the victims' bodies, as a terrifying reminder of possession and control. This creates an endless spiral, where the victims, despite wanting to escape, can do nothing. When the rescue operation was launched, the authorities from the LAPD, FBI, and the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office closely collaborated to use all available legal tools, not only to stop these exploitative actions, but also to protect the most vulnerable people in society. But sadly, despite this campaign saving dozens of lives, we cannot deny that behind the bright neon lights, their pain continues to unfold day by day. Not stopping there, a shocking satellite image is spreading rapidly on social media, sending chills down many spines from above. A large help message is written on a vacant lot near the tracks in Los Angeles. Along with that are words like Traffico and LAPD, which are not just meaningless letters, but urgent distress signals. As if this is a desperate cry from voiceless victims. The presence of these words, seen from above, evokes a terrifying sense of the victims being abandoned in the city's darkness. Life on this street, in the shadows behind the glittering lights, is a struggle with stories that have never been heard. This is not just the problem of these people, but the problem of society as a whole. Are we living in a society where trust has been forgotten, and the hopes of the vulnerable have no place? And if we do not confront this truth, will our descendants have to witness the suffering that we have allowed to continue? Skid Row, the dark heart of Los Angeles, is a place where dreams are shattered and hope is stifled by poverty, suffering, and societal indifference. Here, about 3,691 people live in makeshift tents, under tattered tarps, amidst piles of garbage and the harshness of the weather. The streets of Skid Row are not only a refuge for the homeless, but also a witness to the stories of suffering lives, where existence has become a weary battle each day. From one perspective, Skid Row may just be a temporary concentration area, but for those who struggle day by day, it is a hell with no escape. The neon lights from upscale stores and the bright cafes just a few blocks away only highlight the terrible contrast between wealth and poverty. Just crossing an intersection takes you into a completely different world where the sounds of police cars, ambulance sirens, and the wailing of people living in tents create a chaotic symphony that follows no rules. Here, the victims of life, those who have lost everything, come together to share their transience. Not only are there homeless people, but also stories buried under layers of dust and indifference. But the most heartbreaking are the children, with no future, growing up like weak saplings sprouting on hard concrete, unable to rise. The children in Skid Row do not know about school or dreams of a bright future. For them, the future is just a series of long days, waiting for a miracle that never comes. Skid Row is not just a neighborhood, it is a reflection of a society lacking care, concern, and opportunities for its most vulnerable. The authorities and the community seem to have abandoned this place, leaving the people to fend for themselves in murky waters, where every day someone slips deeper into despair. How can a society continue to develop when the people who contributed to its construction are left behind after everything? Do we still have enough compassion to see these people as part of society? Or will we continue to overlook them, like a ghost in the neighborhood? While Skid Row and other impoverished areas continue to sink into darkness, a more concerning issue is unfolding within the middle class itself, those who once believed they could avoid the storm of crisis sweeping through the city. However, now, even the most stable families cannot protect themselves from the severe downturn of the economy and the social system. The statistics are becoming increasingly concerning. According to data from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, the rate of middle-class people falling into homelessness is rapidly increasing. Those who once had homes and stable jobs now face the harsh reality loans, uncontrollable inflation, and ever-increasing housing prices. Some middle-class people have been pushed out of the homes they have been attached to for their entire lives simply because they cannot keep up with the cost of living. Behind those numbers are families who do not know when they will be able to return to a stable life, or whether they can keep their homes in an increasingly polarized society. Middle-class families who once lived stable lives are now also in a vulnerable position due to the constant fluctuations of the real estate market, job instability, and the burden of debt. They are not the classic homeless people we imagine, but individuals who once stood firm, now facing an unexpected reality. What is concerning is that this situation does not stop at the unemployed or the impoverished. It is affecting families that were once symbols of stability and self-sufficiency in society. The middle class, once the backbone of the American economy, now also no longer has certainty about their own future. They are the people being caught in the whirlpool of crisis with no way out, while the dream of a stable life gradually shatters. From makeshift shelters to expensive neighborhoods, the divide between the rich and the poor has become more pronounced than ever. Are we living in a society where even those who have worked their entire lives to achieve a stable life cannot protect themselves from this storm? And if there is no change, can we continue to believe in a future where those who once had a safe and stable life can find peace again? Or will they be the last generation to live in a society that is too weary and divided? Amid the glamorous streets of Los Angeles, where neon lights never dim and wealth is ever present on every corner, there is a heartbreaking reality that few notice. Just one rent bill, one unexpected event, or one job change apart. Many middle-class families are falling into a situation where they can no longer maintain their stable lives. Those who once had a home and a stable job now face the risk of losing everything, and all because of a shock they could not prepare for. The story of middle-class families is not an unfamiliar tale. According to the Los Angeles Times, about 1 to 3 of Los Angeles' population has fallen into financial hardship, unable to cover basic expenses, including rent. Many people have lived their entire lives in homes they believed would always be their sanctuary. But now, just one unpaid bill, 1 month of unemployment, or an unforeseen illness can plunge them into dire straits. Just 1 month without income, or a change in the job market. And these families are facing the risk of being evicted from the home they have spent their entire lives building. Families that once took pride in their ability to maintain a stable life can no longer pay rent, keep their jobs, or find the help they need. This is happening not only in impoverished areas or suburbs, but even in expensive neighborhoods. A study by UCLA shows that the average rent in Los Angeles has increased by more than 50% in the past 5 years, making it difficult for many middle-class families to keep up. Despite having worked hard for many years, the economy is creating an irreparable divide, where those who were once in secure positions are now becoming victims of a system that cannot protect them. What is concerning is that when these middle-class families fall into hardship, they also face indifference and a lack of support from the community and authorities. Support programs, although available, are not strong enough to prevent these families from falling into a deep pit. They cannot find help, cannot find a way out, and often have to fight on their own to hold on to a glimmer of hope amidst the constant instability. If even those who were once stable, families who prided themselves on their ability to sustain their lives, cannot avoid this collapse, then what is the future for the more vulnerable in society? When you step through the doors of neighborhoods like Skid Row or along Figueroa Street, you don't just see homeless people. You are witnessing the erasure of the most basic human rights. In a society where the American dream is referred to as a symbol of freedom and opportunity for all, those pushed to the margins of society are losing the basic rights they should have: the right to live in safety, the right to healthcare, and the right to a dignified life. The homelessness situation in Los Angeles is not merely a lack of housing. It is a sign of the failure of the social system to protect the most vulnerable. These people are not only deprived of a roof over their heads, but also deprived of the right to comprehensive healthcare, the right to stable employment, and the right to live in a safe environment. We are witnessing a gradual erasure of the most basic rights, rights that most of us take for granted. In Skid Row, the homeless not only lack housing, but they also suffer from a lack of medical care, education, and basic social protection. People like a 70-year-old veteran who dedicated his entire life to the country now have to face illness on their own without access to healthcare services. For him, a life he once imagined would be peaceful in his later years has turned into a series of days lived in fear and deprivation. I once fought for this country, but now I feel like I am becoming redundant on my own homeland, he shared. This is not just an issue for the homeless, but a problem for society as a whole. When even those who once dedicated themselves to the country, those who contributed to the prosperity of this society, are now left in makeshift, unsafe living conditions. We cannot help but ask ourselves, are we still protecting the basic human rights? Or are we allowing those rights to disappear into the shadows of injustice and indifference? While these cities and communities seem to be grappling with these issues without finding sustainable solutions. If a society cannot protect the most basic human rights, where will that society go? In a city like Los Angeles, where the glamorous sights of luxury shopping districts and vibrant evenings along the boulevards have become iconic, the system of temporary shelters, the shelters, should have been a lifeline for the homeless. However, the truth is that the shelter system in Los Angeles is becoming increasingly overloaded and ineffective, leaving thousands of people facing the anxiety of not having a place to stay each night. According to a report from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, in 2025, only about 40% of the homeless in Los Angeles had access to temporary shelters. Moreover, these shelters are not equipped to provide the safety and necessary care for individuals living in precarious circumstances. Some shelters are not only overcrowded, but also lack essential support services such as psychological counseling, healthcare, or vocational training programs, important factors to help the homeless reintegrate into society. Many homeless people share that when they step into a shelter, they not only feel materially deprived, but also feel isolated and disrespected. A 52-year-old woman, who used to be a healthcare worker, shared, "When I go to a shelter, I don't feel like I'm being treated as a human being. Everything was filthy, and I couldn't sleep peacefully. There was no privacy. I just want to find a safe place to rest." The feeling of not being respected, not being cared for as a valuable human being, has made many people unwilling to enter shelters and forced them to live in deprivation on the streets. These shelters also lack the capacity to address deeper issues that homeless individuals face, such as mental illness or domestic violence. According to a study by the National Alliance to End Homelessness, about 25% of homeless individuals have untreated mental health issues, and many of them are struggling to find help in a system that is not robust enough to support them. These individuals often feel frustrated because they cannot access the necessary medical services or psychological support in the shelters. Although the city has invested millions of dollars into support programs and building new shelters, these efforts have not yet fully resolved the issue. The shortage of resources, uneven infrastructure, and lack of coordination between agencies render the current shelter system ineffective. Some programs, despite being good, still do not have the capacity to reach all those in need. And many people still face the situation of living on the streets, despite efforts to provide shelter. Can this system save the homeless? Or are we just creating temporary solutions without addressing the root of the problem? When those who need help the most cannot access safe and adequate shelters, are we truly concerned about their future and the future of our society? In a society where wealth and power are becoming increasingly pronounced, a serious issue is developing right under the light of policies that are supposed to protect the people, the criminalization of the poor, instead of providing support and protection for those in need. Many policies in Los Angeles and other major cities treat the poor and the homeless as criminals that must be eradicated. These policies include prohibiting homeless people from sitting, lying down, or even walking on sidewalks, while there are not enough shelters for them, according to the Los Angeles Times. In 2024, the city spent millions of dollars to carry out enforcement campaigns, requiring homeless individuals to move from the public areas where they were temporarily residing. These people are not only being driven out of the places they call home, but they also face heavy fines and short prison sentences simply because they are homeless. This policy not only pushes the homeless out of the margins of society, but also turns them into criminals in the eyes of the community and the legal system. This pushes them further away from opportunities to improve their lives, because each time they are caught by the police violating these regulations, they will face punishment instead of receiving the help they truly need. This not only affects the homeless, but also harms the entire community. These policies deepen the divide between the rich and the poor. The poor, instead of receiving help, are treated like lawbreakers, outcasts of society, and cannot escape this vicious cycle. A social system that cannot protect the most vulnerable, but instead punishes them for circumstances beyond their control, is an unjust system. And when the homeless are forced to live in fear, not only of poverty, but also of the possibility of being arrested at any moment, we must ask ourselves, are we living in a society where justice is only for those who have enough money to maintain it, and when we criminalize the poor? Are we creating a just society, or a society that only exists for those who already have power and wealth? The images from Skid Row, Figueroa, and other impoverished neighborhoods are not only a reflection of a serious social issue, but also a wake-up call about a system increasingly failing to protect the vulnerable, the homeless, middle-class families who have lost their stability, and children who have not yet grown up have to face indescribable pain. All of them are people in this society, and if we do not face this truth, are we losing sight of the very dreams that the whole world has admired? Is this society forgetting the basic values of humanity? Is the American dream still strong enough to rise? Or has it become a trap from which even those who are striving cannot escape? If you feel that these stories reflect a part of our society, please share this video so that others do not feel alone in this concern. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss important information and our next journey. This video is built on real observations and public information with the aim of provoking reflection and discussion on serious social issues today, especially the state of homelessness and injustice in society. The views and content in the video are not intended to criticize individuals, organizations, or authorities, but rather to reflect issues that need to be addressed in a humane and fair manner. All information is presented with the aim of creating a broad and in-depth dialogue, promoting social awareness, and encouraging action to improve the lives of the vulnerable.